A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you are having a pleasant day. It's great to be back again this week with another episode of the Strata Talk Show. With that, I would like to welcome everyone to the 30th episode of the Strata Talk Show, brought to you by the Excel Academy of Real Estate. In this talk show, we'll be discussing issues and cases related to the management of stratified developments with various industry professionals. Joining us today, we have Mr. David Chan Chin Chye, who is an advocate, solicitor, and strata management advisor to speak on the topic of due diligence, selection of service providers from the legal and compliance perspectives. If you have any questions for Mr. David, feel free to leave them in the Facebook comment section below, which will be addressed in the Q&A section at the end of the show. Without further ado, join me at welcoming Mr. David.
Right. Welcome to this webinar topic on due diligence, selection of external service providers from legal and compliance perspectives. Before we proceed, firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Lim and Encik Amir of Excel Academy for their invite to me, affording me the opportunity to present this topic to members of the public. Right. This webinar topic is prepared based on my years of experience advising developers, JMBs, and MCs on strata-related issues since 2007, when the old Act 663 or the Building Common Property Maintenance and Management Act came into force. Right. So all these materials are based from my experience and knowledge of the relevant strata laws. Okay. Right. Okay. Firstly, what is due diligence? Or in short, DD. All right, DD refers to the process of collecting and analyzing information before a party makes a decision or conducts a transaction so that the management would not be held liable for any loss or damage arising from the said decision or transaction. Another definition. Look at the third one. Okay. The third one. Come to here. Okay. Here, another definition is the process. DD is the process of examining all material facts of a contract before a legal agreement is signed by the JMB or MC, as the case may be, with a service provider, example, a property management company, cleaning and landscape contractor, etc., etc. So that means one of the duties of JMBs and MCs, if you are a committee member, is to run and manage the common properties and buildings in your strata development. But we know for a fact that most members of JMCs and MCs, they are all volunteers, right? They have their own families, they have their own career to think of. So they don't have the they are unable to engage full time in the office to look into all these problems affecting their development. So what they do is they can outsource the management to service providers. So that's why, in this sense, the committee members must practice due diligence in selecting the right candidate from amongst the quotations received from various service providers. So basically, DD is the process which involves an investigation, audit, or review done to verify and confirm details of a matter under discussion by the management. So in this case, the committee will do an investigation, audit, or review of the tenders received from the service providers and go through the tenders, and after that interview the candidates, and then after that make the right decision to select the best candidate that fulfill their various criteria. Okay, next, slide. Next slide. Okay, third, DD. How many components are there? There are commercial DD. All right, commercial DD, that means you look into their office premises. Is it in the CD area of the town, or is it in a well-managed office development? Look at their systems and processes. Look at the products and services offered by the service provider. Uh, Ask around the customers whether they're happy with their services. Look at the contracts and agreements prepared by the service provider. Are they one-sided in favor of the service provider, or is it fair to both service provider and the JMB or the MC? Then the next DD is the legal DD. Legal DD means look into the legal status. Look into the legal status of the service provider. If it's a Sendirian Berhad, is it wind up? Or if the service provider is a sole proprietorship or a PLT, limited partnership, look at the partners. Are they bankrupt? All right. Then look at to determine the legal status, whether they are wind up or bankruptcy, you do a search at the Jabatan Insolvency. All right. Look at you just pay them about $20 for a search. All right. Check whether the company Sdn Bhd is wind up, or whether the partners are or the sole proprietor are declared bankrupt, adjudicated bankrupt. Then look at legal claims. All right. That one, if you subscribe monthly subscription services with CTOS, then you can check whether there are pending or current civil proceedings against the firm, against the Sdn Bhd. Then look at the contractual terms and conditions. Look at the warranties and indemnities. Right. So, for example, if you sign a service agreement with the PMC or with the security company, of course, there must be warranty on the part of the service provider that they are not been wind up, they are not bankrupt, they are going concern, etc., etc. And then make sure they give you indemnity in case they don't they don't discharge their services favorably. Then, of course, the next one is the third one is financial DD. All right, look at their financial performance. So how do you assess their financial performance? Look at their audited statements. All right, for Sdn Bhd, they have the audited statements. Look at the past 3 years audited statements. Right, yeah, and if you look at the past 3 years, every year they have a deficit. Every month, every year they sustain the deficit. All right, that means it can be a sign that it's not well run, not well managed. Then you decide, right? Then, of course, look at the salaries and wages. Ask the staff, do they get the salary on time? Right? Right. We all know, JMB MC normally they don't pay at the end of month. They will pay 2-3 months later. Say, for example, charges for October. They won't pay on the 30th of October. Probably they pay on the 30th of November or even December. So that means there is a 1 or 2 months lag before the service provider gets payment from the JMB or MC client. So in this case, does the service provider have sufficient cash flow to pay their salaries, the staff salaries, pending this 1 or 2 month lag? Then look at the employee benefits. Do they give the staff APF, SOXO? Do they pay bonus and that kind of thing? Look at the staff turnover. If the building manager is assigned to your site and he resigns after 3 months, then another building manager comes in after 5 months, he also resigns. That means something is not right with the service provider. And then look at the professional indemnity, public liability insurance. Are they willing to give, right, you a public liability or professional indemnity? right? The market rate is minimum 500,000. But of course, the, 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 the common sum is 1 million, all right? Indemnity or public liability. But of course, for high-end sites like those in Mont Kiara, I believe probably the chairman will ask, chairman or chair leader will ask for at least minimum 2 million coverage for indemnity and public liability. Then look, ask for performance bond. Like say, for example, yeah, if say for example, big ticket items capex like repainting the facade, which can come out to millions, right? Okay, then in that case, you better ask the contractor that does the repainting works, ask them for performance bond. Yeah, in case the company is wind up or they disappear halfway. All right. Thank you. Let's go to the next point. Okay. Obligation of JMBs and MCs to select service providers. Earlier, all right. Earlier, we said that, all right, one of the duties of GMBs and MCs is to run and manage the buildings and common properties in the strata development. And we said that most of them, 90% of the committee members, they are volunteers. You don't expect them to be at the MO every day from 9 to 5. The most they will come is only on the Saturdays. So in this case, since they are part-time volunteers, all right, they will obviously outsource the management to service providers. Okay, so this obligation to select service providers come under subsections 21 sub 2F and section and 59 sub 2F of the Strata Management. It says what? The JMB and the MC, respectively, can employ or arrange and secure the services of any person or agent to undertake the maintenance and management of the common property of the buildings or lands intended for subdivision into parcels. This refers to GMB. What do you mean by intended for subdivision into parcels? That means this is where the purchaser, when he bought the condo or the retail unit under Schedule H of the Housing Development Act, right? At that point of time, all right, the strata titles are not out yet because the developer has not yet submitted the master title for subdivision at the Pejabat Tanah Galian. So here under this Schedule H, you will form a JMP. But if you when at the time you sign the Schedule H SPA with the developer subdivided building or land, that means at the time you sign the SPA, the strata titles are out because the subdivision process has been completed. So in this case, when the developer submits when the developer delivers vacant possession to you and hands over the key together with the strata title, and then he will ask you, please sign the MOT, please sign the Form 1048 on the spot, all right? Or maybe 1 month, within 1 month from the day you got keys, right? So in this case, the MC will be formed. So I believe for all those developers who submit their the application for development order after 1st June 2015, they must also submit the cipher schedule of parcel so that when the project is delivered vacant possession to the purchasers, say 24 months or 36 months thereafter, from date of SPA, that when the VP is given, the site title will be given to the purchaser. He or she will then sign the transfer form, and then from at that point of time, if 25% of aggregate share units has been transferred to the purchaser, excluding the share unit of the proprietor or the developer unsold units, then you form the MC, right? So in simple terms, what does that mean? These provisions authorize the JMB or MC to employ. What do you mean by employ staff directly? You see the word employ. The word employ means, the word employ means what? The JMB or MC can employ the building manager directly as an employee. So in this case, what you have is a employment contract, a letter of employment between the JMB as employer and the building manager as employee. So here the JMB will pay his wages, his salaries, his EPF and social contributions, right? And then what do you mean by arrange and secure the services of any person to undertake the maintenance management? This means what? What it means is the JMB and MC can outsource to a third party to manage and say for and maintain the common property. For example, all right, they can engage. Say we engage Night Yarn. All right, okay, we want to engage NTL, or we want to engage Melmax, all right, to run the place. So of course there will be a tender process, interview process, and if successful, then the GMB or MC will sign a property service agreement with the successful candidate. Okay, so this is what I mean by arrange and secure. Okay, so GMB MC members, you can either engage the service provider directly as your employee. Alternatively, you can outsource to a licensed property manager or a licensed security company to manage your buildings and common areas in the strata development. Next one. Right. Obligation of GMB. Okay. So another power. This talks about the power of a JMB or MC or sub-MC to engage any person to maintain and manage community is also stipulated in the Strata Management Maintenance Regulations 2015, right? All right. Remember, the Strata Management Act, attached to it is the Strata Management Regulations, right? So this Regulation 31 talks about engagement of a JMB. That means the JMB can enter into a management agreement with the said person or agent, right? Okay, and then Regulation 32. Regulation 32 talks about engagement by MC or sub-MC. That means the MC or sub-MC can also employ a property manager as his employee, full-time employee, or they can enter into a management agreement with the service provider. Okay, and then this obligation to engage service provider is so you can refer to. It's also found in sections 5.4 and 5.5 of the Garis Panduan Kaedah Pemilihan oleh pihak pengurusan bangunan strata, published by the KPKT, that means the Ministry of Housing and Local Government in 2020. Okay, if you want to, this for this webinar topic, we are not going to Garis Panduan in detail, just in brief, right? You can download this Garis Panduan from your PC. Is available. Yeah, right. Okay, this Garis Panduan is actually guidelines draft created by the Ministry of Housing to all GMB and MCs in West Malaysia. They must adopt these guidelines in the course of deciding whether to elect company A or company B or company C as the property manager, etc., etc. Okay, all right. Okay, right. So if you want to as part of the process of conducting DD, right, you will adopt these precautionary measures, right? Precautionary measures, there are two types: one general and the other is specific. Okay, general precautionary measures means what? First, conduct the following searches before entering into a legal contract. That means before you sign the agreement with the service provider, all right, do a search first. Search at the local CCM or SSM. That means, all right, CCM means what? Is the new name for ROC. No more ROC. So CCM, Companies Commission of Malaysia, go to the branch, do a search, all right, on the sole proprietorship or partnership firm, PLT, Perkongsian Liability Terhad, or Sdn Bhd for details of the proprietorship, paid up capital, date of incorporation. So if if you do a search on the service provider, Sdn Bhd, and the paid up capital, authorized capital 100,000, but the paid up capital is $100. Paid up capital $100, authorized capital 100,000. Do you think it's proportionate or disproportionate? In that case, the company is not capitalized in relation to its authorized capital. So think twice before you engage such company. Right? Then search at the local Jabatan Insolvency Office, local Jabatan Insolvency Malaysia office to determine if they cannot see me. Yeah, they can see me. I think
They can see.
okay. So that means check with the Jabatan Insolvency. Check if the sole proprietor, partner, or director is adjudicated bankrupt. Okay, all right. or whether the Sdn Bhd is wind up. So if the result is positive, that means the sole proprietor is bankrupt, or the director is bankrupt, or the company Sdn Bhd is wind up. Better don't uh, select that company, because otherwise your agreement will be signed between the JMB or MC and the Jabatan Insolvency Malaysia. Because once a person or Sdn Bhd once a person is bankrupt or the Sdn Bhd is wind up, right? The affairs, the assets of the person or the Sdn Bhd will vest in the liquidator, that means which is the Jabatan Insolvency, or maybe the private liquidator from an accounting firm, right? So there will be legal complications if you do that. Next one. Okay, the next one is appoint lawyers experienced in the laws and practice of strata property management to vet the drafts service agreement to ensure validity. That means that normally, if you, let's say, you elect the security company, all right? So the security company, they will provide you a draft agreement. Hey, please sign this agreement, Mr. Lim, all right? But if Mr. Lim is not a lawyer, all right? So he will discuss this with the committee members, right? So if none of the committee member is a lawyer, better engage a lawyer who's well versed in strata management, vet the agreement, right? Vet the agreement to make sure the agreement is fair to both sides, right? Especially in section 21 sub 3 of the Act 757. Act 757 is the Strata Management Act. Section 21 sub 3 says what? It must not exceed 12 months. The contract must not exceed 12 months. So if the draft contract is given to you, says we sign for 3 years. I've come across one case in JB, all right, where the property management company gave the GMB 3 years contract. It must fix 3 years, right? And one of the terms is, if the GMB terminate halfway, I say after 1 year, if the GMB terminates the agreement, that means the GMB must indemnify, compensate the property management company the 2 years wages, 2 years monthly charges. Imagine that. So by the time they ask for my advice, I just say, nasi sudah jadi bubur, too late already. How to back out? See, the GMB should have sought legal advice before they sign that agreement, right? So I told them, please proceed with the second and third year, unless you have the funds to pay the compensation. And then same time, look, no unfair unilateral termination clause. Make sure that in the agreement, all right, the unilateral means what? Termination means what? Only one side can terminate, the other side cannot terminate, right? So if you want a termination clause, it must be mutual. It must be a mutual termination clause. Termination clause means what? The GMB or the service provider can terminate by giving, say, 1 month notice or 2 months notice. That is fair, because that termination can be exercised by both sides, right? You must not have a termination clause that is only exercised by one side and depriving the other side of that choice. Okay. So MC, GMC, please do not be penny wise found foolish. If you enter into agreement where you have to pay 100,000 fees to the property manager every year, that means average the management fee is about 8,000 plus. All right. So to ensure that the agreement is fair to you, please get a strata management lawyer to check the agreement that is fair to both sides. All right. Don't later on you want to save some money, and then you sign, and later on you find out 3 months later you have been I would say prejudiced by the agreement, right? Then C, ascertain whether any of the GMC or MC members related to service provider, right? So if you so here under the Garis Panduan, all right, there's a guideline to say that in any tender process, right, it must be discussed at the committee and at a normal committee meeting. And if any of the committee member has an interest in that, in that tender process, whether directly or indirectly means maybe through family members or relatives or close friends, he or she must disclose that interest in the meeting. And then when it comes to a meeting to decide to select, right, and there is a voting process, that particular member who has interest in that tender, he or she must leave the meeting room and not participate in the voting process. This is to avoid a conflict of interest. Okay, next one. Okay, for then the next point, D. If the paid up capital of the Sdn Bhd is negligible, example $2, consider obtaining a joint and several personnel guarantee of the directors as an added security measure. Okay, for example, okay, it's only relevant for substantial capex projects. Example, repainting of facade. If for those normal tender projects are 5,000, 10,000, no need lah, no need to join the several personal guarantee of the directors. But if it involves 100,000, 200,000, half million in a capex project, upgrading works, which involves substantial outlay, then if the Sdn Bhd has got a job, get their directors to sign joint personal guarantee, right? I'm sure they would gladly give you the guarantee because they want the job. Okay, all right. So be cautious. Then, of course, next point, you go and do trade checking. Trade checking, that means what? It is incumbent upon the GMB MC. Go around and ask, make inquiry, like the Latin phrase, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. So in this case, GMB MC beware. Go and find out about the background of the service provider, right? Ask for their corporate profile, right? That means whether it's sole proprietors, partnership, or cinema, ask for their corporate profile. The corporate profile will show you the background, the experience, the qualification of the partners, of the directors. Then ask for portfolio of clients. All right, you have been around for, you have been a property management company for the past 3 years. Okay, who are your clients? Can you show me your portfolio? And then they say, oh, we manage this site. Then show some photos as proof. As proof. Inquire the clients on service providers' performance. Then ask around the client. Call up the chairman of that site. Say, for example, they are running a site in Sri Kemamang. Call the chairman or the secretary or treasurer. Hey, Mr. Lim, you appointed this company A as your property manager. How long have they been running a place? Oh, 3 years. So how do you find? Are they good? No. Oh, yes, they are good because they have been there 3 years. Okay, check around. Inquire the competitors. Because of course, in the property management line, you have many all are rivals, but on a friendly basis. So if you want to appoint company A, check with company B. Company say, hey, this one, this competitor, what do you think? Are they good? Do they treat the employees well? Are they very efficient? Right? Do the staff perform? Do the staff go to work punctually? All those inquiries. Then F, test knowledge of service provider at the interview. Right? At the interview stage, ask them questions. Right? Grill them. Right? Throw them scenarios. Throw them scenarios and ask them, under this scenario, what will you do? Or what will you not do? All right? All these things to test their knowledge, test their experience. That's fine. Right. So we have finished with the general precautionary measures. Now let's go to the specific precautionary measures. A. I say, for example, GMB-MC, you want to employ the PMC. Okay? Ask yourself, is the PMC a licensed valuer property manager registered with BOVIAP or LPPEH? LPPEH is the BM Malay equivalent. All right? If yes, ask for a copy of the Sijil Pendaftaran. Okay? Ask for the registration certificate. All right? Okay. Then also ask under Section 30 of the values. Okay, here there is something contradiction, right? Okay. Section 30 of the Valuers, Appraisers, Estate Agents, Appraisers, Property Managers Act 1981 or Act 242 says it is a criminal offense for anyone. Anyone means what? JMB or MC, all right, to act as a property manager if anyone here means what? Any person or any company to act as a property manager if he or she is not registered with BOVIAP. Penalty 300,000 fine, 3 years imprisonment or both. Okay, that means all right, under Act 1242, if GMB or MC wants to employ a property management company, say want to employ Natya, Melbest, Nawawiti, Leong, CBRE, WTW. All right, okay, all right. So make sure they are registered with BOVIAP. All right, make sure they are registered with BOVIAP. All right, but then on the contrary, we have Regulation 21 sub 2 and Regulation 32 sub 2 of the 2015 Strata Management Regulations. It says what? If the person or agent is not a registered property manager, provided he has lodged with the GMB, MC or sub-MC, a bond in Form 12 to be given by bank, finance company or insurer. Now, I say, for example, okay, all right, GMB, MC, you want to employ this Sdn Bhd, okay, ABC Sdn Bhd. but they are not the principal, the MD, the directors are not registered with BOVIAP as a property manager. Can you employ them? Yes, you can still employ them, provided this Sdn Bhd ABC gives you a bond in Form 12, right? And Form 12 to be given by bank, finance company, or insurer, right? And what is that? What is Form 12? Form 12 is Bond 12 basically is this bond basically is a bank guarantee. Bank guarantee given by the bank or insurer to the GMB or MC, and it is equivalent to 12 months management fee or 50,000, whichever is higher. Okay, so this bank guarantee is 12 months. Say for example, if you award the contract to ABC Sdn Bhd, and the management fee is 7,000 a month, so 12 months will be 84,000. So what is the value of the bank guarantee that you accept, 84,000 or 50,000? Of course, you take the higher one, you take 84,000. But I know now, all right, since 2018, when it was honeymoon year, a lot of property managers were given licenses by BOVIAP, all right? So now you have so many a flood of property management companies in the market. Competition is so stiff, and I've heard that there are PMC willing to offer management fees as low as 3,000 or 4,000 a month, right? So if that management company says, okay, you pay me 3,000 a month, so 12 months, 36,000 or 50,000, which do you accept? You accept bank guarantee for 50,000. And please take note, banks issue bank guarantee is only valid for 1 year, valid for 1 year. So if that property management company, you renew second year, make sure you tell the property management company PMC, go to the bank and give you a fresh guarantee, or ask the bank to extend the validity of the bank guarantee for the second year, all right? Because once the first year expire, and then the PMC you renew for second year, if anything happens, right? If they abscond with the management funds, the staff absconded with the management funds, and if your bank guarantee was not renewed by the second year by the bank or insurer, and you want to claim the bank guarantee against the bank, right? Because the staff misappropriated the funds, absconded with funds. Sorry, your claim for compensation under BG bank guarantee will be rejected by the bank, right? Because you failed to ask the bank to renew the BG. So please, property managers out there, chairman, chairlady out there, please take note of this expiry date of your BG. So we were talking just now, there's a contradiction, right? Or inconsistency, right? Act 240 says that you cannot employ a property manager which is not registered with BOVIAP. But then the subsidiary legislation 2015 regulation says you can, provided he gives you a bond equivalent to 12 months management fees or 50,000, whichever is higher. So you GMB you are at dilemma. Which one do you follow? Do you follow the Act 242, which is the primary legislation, or do you follow the 2015 regulations, which is a subsidiary legislation? So which do you accept? When you interpret the laws, when you construct the laws, all right, interpret or construct the laws, the principle is the primary legislation always supersede, override the subsidiary legislation. So the Act 242 will always override the 2015 regulations, right? Okay, so if you have any problem or dispute on this point, please ask the COB for advice. All right, please ask the COB for advice, or please go to KPKT Jabatan Perumahan Negara for the advice on this inconsistency. All right, because the regulations were created by KPKT, and Act 240 was enacted in Parliament. Okay, right. So let's go to the next point. Ask the PMC to produce professional indemnity insurance and public liability insurance policies, right? Say, for example, for a low-cost apartment like those PPER, right? Low cost. I think probably 500,000 for indemnity insurance, 500,000 for public liability. I think is more than sufficient. Okay, all right. But for medium cost apartment condos, probably 1 million each. For high-end condos like in Tamanton or in Mongkera, I think probably 2 million would be reasonable to ask from the PMC. Okay, right. Okay, next one. Security Services Company, SSC. All right, so you want to engage the SSC. All right, so you have received 3 tenders, 3 quotations from 3 security companies. Right, so all 3 you must check. Is the SSC a member of the Persatuan Perkhidmatan Kawalan Keselamatan Malaysia, Security Services Association of Malaysia? All right. If yes, please ask for a copy of the sijil keahlian. Say out of the 3 security company SSC that submitted tender, right, 2 provided you the sijil keahlian. Then the third one didn't provide. That means the third one is not a member. So better reject the tender. So now you have to choose one. Okay, all right. My advice, because why? If the security company, if the guard absconds with the money, or the guard go and wall up, assaults a resident, right? Because the guard is very hot tempered, assault the resident, or go and kick the car, right? Damage the car, enter the car. So you can complain to the Persatuan Perkhidmatan Kawalan. Then they can take disciplinary action against the member company. Okay. Does the SSC possess a license to provide security services? You want to be a security company, you must also have a license to provide services. Where does the law say? All right, it's under the Section 3. Section 3, Private Agencies Act 1979 says what? All right. The security company must be registered with KDN, and the KDN, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, all right, Kementerian Dalam Negeri will issue the sijil license untuk menjalankan urusan agency procedure. Right? Not only ask for the membership certificate, ask for the license from the KDN. If they are a member of the association but they don't have the KDN license, you better say bye-bye to the company. Don't go and engage. Because if you do, all right, if you engage a security company without a KDN license, all right, if the guards absconded with the money, management funds, all right, and you want to claim insurance from your under professional indemnity, the insurance says sorry, your claim for compensation is denied because, all right, the appointment of that company is illegal because they didn't possess the KDN license, right? Okay, so these 2 conditions are, these 2 requirements, please be familiar. And if the guards are foreigners, ensure they possess valid passport and work permit. All right. I don't know whether the KDA has still insisted that only guards must be from Nepal, or have they opened to other countries in Southeast Asia? Okay, right. So ensure they possess valid passport and they also have work permit. Ask for a copy. If better still, copy must be certified through copy by the security company's lawyers. Okay, and then ask them for professional indemnity insurance and public liability insurance policy. Okay. All right, cleaning company. If the cleaners are foreigners, a cleaning company, there's no, as far as I know, there's no association of cleaning companies. If there is any, please share your knowledge by sending your the details in the FP. As far as I know, cleaning companies are not members of any association. To the best of my knowledge, if the cleaners are foreigners, please ensure they also possess valid work permits and passport. Ask for a certified true copy, and also ask the CC to produce indemnity insurance and public liability policies. Okay. Lift maintenance company. This is a very critical issue. Is the LMC registered with JKPP or DOS, Department of Occupational Safety Health, as an approved firm to provide lift examination, service, and maintenance? And this is provided in the Factories and Machinery, Electric Passenger and Goods Lifts Regulations 1970. And these regulations are part of the FME, Factory and Machineries Act. Okay, all right. So this regulation says that all LMC must be registered with DOS or TKPP as an approved lift contractor. All right. If yes, They are member, ask for the seizure keahlian. If no, Chairman Chalidi, better reject the tender, because otherwise if there's a man trap, or like recently the lift collapsed from 8th floor down to ground floor, somebody injured. Luckily recently there were no fatalities, but of course the lift users were injured, right? And if the GMB or MC wants to claim public liability insurance, it will be rejected because the lift contractor is not registered with DOSH. Please. Okay, now ask the LMC to produce indemnity insurance and public liability insurance. This one is very important. JMB MC must sign a 1-year minimum service agreement with the MC. All right. Why do I say that minimum 1 year? Because in the market, there are 1 or 2 lift management company that insist on GMB MC sign 3-year lift maintenance contract. All right. I'm sure you know who is the company, but I wouldn't say. All right. Okay. All right, so you have to sign 3 years contract, take it or leave it. All right, so how do you resolve this problem, knowing that the Act says that any agreement with service provider must not exceed 12 months? Answer is simple. Make sure the agreement under the term, it says what? 1 year commencing from what date? Commencing from 1st October 2022 to 30th September 2023. 1 year with an option to renew for another 1 year. With an option to renew for further 2 terms of 1 year each. That way, if I'm the lift management company, if I'm that particular lift management company, at least I will be pleased. I will be satisfied, because the renewal will be 1 + 1 + 1. Right? Of course, the renewal +1 in the second or third year is at the absolute discretion of the GMB or MC. But at least if I'm that particular lift management company, I will be pleased. At least there is 3 years indirectly. Okay, so take note, all right, of this fact. Okay, the next one is management accounting firm. Yes, of course, as you said, right? Most committee members, they are volunteers, right? So, but of course, right, in the course of running the MO, you have to do the daily accounting, daily payment. End of the day, the admin clerk must tally the vouchers, tally the receipts, right? And then maybe he or she might be required to prepare the daily trial balance. So of course, somebody, but maybe the clerk is not experienced. So what they do is some GMB or MC, they will outsource this duty to a management accounting firm. So the management accounting firm, what they do is they send their staff, experienced staff, maybe come to the office twice a week, all right, twice a week, then go through all the vouchers, go through all the PV, go through all the PO, and then do all the necessary reports and statements, all right? And then at the end of the month, the MAF will then, at the monthly meeting, they will table the monthly profit loss, monthly balance sheet, bank record statement, and cash flows statement as if required. Okay, so if you engage such MAF, make sure the principal is a member of the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, and please ask a copy of the practicing cert. All right, because as far as sometimes in the market there are some people who does this, but they are not. Uh, they have experience, but they are not professionally qualified. Okay. Then of course ask the MAF to show professional indemnity insurance policy. Why don't you ask them for public liability policy? Why don't you, GMB, why don't you ask them for the public liability policy? Because the accountant staff, they don't deal with the public. Unlike security firms, unlike PMC, they deal with the public. That's why they have to provide public liability insurance policy. But for accountants, auditors, all right, they don't. All right, so you don't have to ask them for public liability policy. Same with audit firm. Audit firm, all right, end of every year they will audit accounts, right, and it will be tabled at the next AGM. All right. So in this case, all right, ask yourself, is the principal a member of MIA? If yes, ask for the PC. Also ask for professional indemnity. I don't need to ask for public liability policy. This one, the most important, general contractors. Of course, in the daily course of work, what you have to do if you have repairs, maintenance work, like for example, a swimming pool, you have to maintain, isn't it? Every week, every week, the swimming pool contractor twice a week or 3 times a week will come and do some chlorination and remove the floating rubbish from the pool, blah blah blah. That's maintenance, right? And then of course, if the because the bottom of the pool, the tiles have cracked, then they pop up, and then because of that, children swimming can get cut. So that involves service. That will be service, right? So if you engage that cleaning pool contractor to repair or to maintain the pool, make sure he is a licensed contractor under Section 5 of the Construction Industry Development Board. If yes, ask for a copy of the Sijil Kalian. All right. And as you know, the government is encouraging Bumi Putra entrepreneurship. If the GC is a Bumi control, is it registered with MOF or is it registered with Kementerian Pembangunan Usahawan and Koperasi? If yes, ask for a copy of membership, sir. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. And ask the GC also to produce indemnity and public liability, because this GC, their work, all right, can affect the safety and security of the residents in the strata development. Right. So sometimes, so for example, the swimming pool contractor, he has done his work, but then the side of pool, there are the pools of water, he forgot to mop them dry, and then children walk around across and then slip because of the pool of water which was not dried up by the contractor, swimming pool contractor. So the child is injured, the parents sue the JMB, then the JMB can claim public liability insurance against that contractor. Okay. Next point, professional advisors, architects, lawyers, engineers, surveyors. All right. Is the professional a member of the professional body? Example, architect, he or she must be a member of Pertukaran Architect Malaysia. Okay. All right. Engineer, all right, he she must be a member of Lembaga Juruterma Malaysia. If he's a land surveyor, member of the Lembaga Juruterma Malaysia. Building surveyor, RISM. QS, Lembaga Juruterma Malaysia. When do you engage architect? You engage an architect, maybe the drawings, the building plans submitted by the developer to the PTG for purpose of subdivision of the master title and then issuance of strata titles. But you feel that the strata plans and drawings were not prepared in accordance with the Schedule 1 in the Act 757, then you employ architect to go through the drawings. All right. Engineer, of course, engineer, if you have a major capex work, major capex repair work, all right, then you can employ engineer. It can be civil engineer, MME engineer, CNS engineer. Land surveyor, okay, land surveyor, if the it's related to you engage a land surveyor to look into the, say for example, the developer submitted the building plans, the schedule of parcel and ciphers for purpose of subdivision of master title, issuance strata title, and they have come and they have also computed the share units to be allotted to the parcels. And then you, the GMC MC, believe that those share units were not computed in accordance with the Act 757. So you can engage your own licensed land surveyor. Engage your own licensed surveyor and come up with your own individual report. And so if your land surveyors computation share unit computation is different very substantially from the computation of share unit by the land surveyor appointed by the developer, then by all means you can go to court to contest these variants. And then of course, building survey, RISM, Royal Institute of Surveys Malaysia. All right. So for example, under the Act, every 5 years you can revalue your property. All right. Every 5 years you can revalue the buildings and common property in your building. That means what? After every 5 years, probably last time you bought from the developer is 200,000. After 5 years, maybe your property now is worth 300,000. All right. So you can engage a building surveyor to go and do a building audit. All right. To justify the capital appreciation. QS, QS, you engage if you're tendering project and you have to the contractors provide furnishes you with VQ, and you are not satisfied with VQ, you can engage a QS on your own account to go through that BQ to check whether to assess those BQ provided by the contractor, are they justified or correctly computed or otherwise. And of course, for professional advisor, please ask indemnity insurance policy in case they didn't do their job well. You can claim against them, but don't ask for public liability because these people don't really deal with the residents. They deal directly with the MO or the committee members. Right. So basically, those are we have gone through the general and uh, and these specific precautionary measures. So, ladies and gentlemen, all right, can we have a 10-minute break? My throat is dry. Okay, I need to go to Jens. So we take a 10-minute break. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. I had to take a toilet break on an urgent basis, right, to answer the call of nature. Okay, let's proceed with the next topic. Criteria in selecting service providers by JMB or MC. So what criteria do you need to, okay, assuming you are happy with the general precautionary measures, you are happy, satisfied with the specific measures. So now what criteria, what factors do you need to consider to assess the candidates? Say you have received 3 tenders from 3 providers. So who is the most suitable candidate, right? The successful one. So you have to look at this criteria. Number one, look at their past track record. Meaning you look at their capability, look at their experience. Don't focus too much on cost pricing and ROI. All right, don't always think everything. We want the cheapest. We want the cheapest. Because you always look for the cheapest quote, what you get is monkey service. You pay peanuts, you pay monkey service. You pay slightly premium, you get better service. All right, so that is a fact of life. All right, so look at their capability, experience, and if they are capable, they have a good reputation in the market, they have experience. All right, be prepared to pay a premium for their services. All right, don't expect premium services at cheap prices. It doesn't work. Okay, and so what do you do? Look at the length of experience in the industry. How long in the market? 1 year, right? 3 service provider, one year in the market. The second one, 5 years in the market. The third one, 10 years in the market. So it boils down to the 5 years and the 10 years, right? The 1 year you can sort of say, sorry, you are still raw. Okay. Look, ask for the corporate profile, ask for the client's portfolio, inquire with the clients on service providers, inquire with other industry players in the same industry. 2, management structure. Look at the management. Who are the directors? Who are the shareholders? Are they qualified with relevant experience in their fields, right? So, for example, right, if you're looking for property PMC, right, and then you look at the director's qualification, if the degrees are in education, in science, all right, that means their degrees are in the qualifications are in fields, disciplines not related to property management, then you better think twice. But if you look at another company, the directors all were degrees in estate management, degrees in property management, in valuation, all right, or degrees in engineering. Property managers are nowadays, I notice clients have engaged, are engaging PMCs, where the directors have engineering qualification like mechanical engineering, civil, or CNS, or structural engineer, or MME, because if the building consists a high-rise condo, if it's a integrated development, you have retail mall, right? If property manager is from an engineering background, it's very relevant, all right? So nowadays, so look at the qualifications. Are the qualifications related to property management? And then are they involved in the business full time, or do they delegate? Do the directors turun padang? Do they go down? Do the directors attend the monthly meetings and give their advice, give a direction, guidance to the committee members, right? If you engage a PMC and the directors and never, and of course, under the act, you must have a money meeting minimum once in 2 months, so minimum 6 months, 6 meetings. But of course, you can have a meeting every month. And say, for example, for that particular committee, the whole year you have 10 meetings and the directors never even show face, right? So what does that show? Are they committed, right? They can't even attend 1 or 2 meetings, right? Okay, even AGM also they don't attend, right? So that is show. It means what? They are not involved in the business full time. They delegate to the building manager, right? So you have to look into these factors, right? Next one, location of service provider. Is the service provider situated within proximity of the site? I say, for example, your site is in the Sri Kembangan, right? But you want to engage a property management company which is based in, say, in Semenyih. Wow, right? Sri Kembangan to Semenyih, that's quite a distance. So if any problem, how will the directors come to your site straight away? But of course, Of course, you have the highways lah, but look into that. All right, but if you are Sri Kambama, if the PMC, the office is in PJ Sumanjaya, at least not so bad. Got any urgent problem, the directors can come straight away. All right. Say for example, man trap leaves. All right, under the safety health regulation JKPP. All right, response time is 45 minutes. That means the 45 minutes the lift technician must be there to respond to attend to the lift problem. Likewise, if there's a man trap, the director must also show face, right? You don't just ask the building manager. The director must there to guide the building manager how to tackle the issue, right? And of course, look at it's the HQ based outstation. That also you have to consider. Then the next point, number 4, indemnity insurance and or public liability. Is the insurance sum sufficient to cover losses, damages suffered by the GMCMC in case of any perils occurring in the development? So I have, as I have said earlier, if it's a low cost flat PPR, 500,000 for public liability and indemnity would be sufficient. For low medium cost, probably 100,000. For higher medium cost condos, probably 1.5 million, and for those super high end like in TTDI or Monkera, probably 2 million would be reasonable. Okay. Then the next criteria, financial integrity. Look into that financial integrity means what? Can the service provider pay staff wages, EPF, social contribution on a timely basis, pending receipt of payments from JMB or MC, right? Because the practice is JMB, MC, they will pay 1 or 2 months late, right? So if the PMC does not have enough cash flow or doesn't even have an overdraft facility, if they don't have an overdraft facility, that means during that 1 or 2 months lag, the staff won't have salary. The staff won't have salary. So, what would this lead to? Poor morale among the workers, among the staff. So, if I'm a clerk, I don't pay 1 or 2 months. If I get another job, I will give you a 24-hour resignation. So you have to look into this factor. Okay. Look at the past 3 months bank statements. Check the turnover. All right. Check the turnover. 3 months past statement and look for return check. Why do you look for return check? This one is a sign of integrity, because if in any month you have 1 or 2 return checks, it shows that the service provider's cash flow is very weak, right? They don't have they are not self-sustaining, right? So it will reflect poorly on the service provider. Look into that, and then also vet their audit reports for the past 3 financial years. Check whether their cash flow is strong over the 3 years. Check whether they have high trade receivables. That means what? High trade receivables here will be the debts, outstanding debts owing by the clients, by the JMB and MC. If the amount is a lot, that means it reflects poorly on the financial integrity. That means their debt collection is not strong. Then look at the compliance with the terms and conditions of the tender. Compliance with terms and conditions of tender means what? Right? When you launch the tender process, of course, you will lay down the terms and conditions. Check whether they have complied with all the terms. If they have complied with all the terms, let's say, for example, you advertise the tender in the papers, 5 companies, 5 property management companies submitted the tender. Maybe three comply with the terms and conditions. The other 2 disqualified because they failed to comply with conditions. Okay, right. Then are the proposed charges within your budget? All right. Say for example, for example, if say for example your development is in Siri Kembangan, okay, so you can only pay say 5,000 management fee a month, but if the PMC says we want 7,000, then of course it's outside your budget. All right, can you pay or not? All right, so you have to say sorry. All right, but if your condo is in Monkera, all right, so if the PMC says 12,000 management fee, I think probably it's within your budget, because because your high-end condo in Monkera, your management charges will be considerably more than those low cost or medium cost condos. So your budget is within your budget. Okay, so look into these factors. Right, now let's go to the tender stage. Tender stage means what? So We have gone through all the general precautionary measure, the specific precautionary measure. We have gone through the criteria to select the successful service provider. Now let's go to the tender stage. So the tender stage, there are three stages. Three stages. One, pre-tender stage, then the actual tender stage, or which includes interview, and then the post-tender stage where the LA or letter of award is issued to the successful candidate, right? So let's go to the pre-tender stage. Pre-tender stage, okay, what are the procedures involved? Number one, meeting of JMB MC to discuss tender, especially terms and conditions. Right here, craft a detailed request for proposal with clear problem statement. Right? So in your tender document, right? Tender document, yeah, you will identify the tender document by giving the reference number, and then you will give a title to the tender maybe RFP to repair leakage in the swimming pool. Say so, and then you list the requirements. State what are the specific issues. So say for example, requirement you have to, you must be, if you are a swimming contractor, no, you must not be wind up or not must not be bankrupt, and all those other precautionary measures. And then if you can set out the correct BQ, if you don't know how to do the BQ, then you engage the buildings. Just now we engage the quantity surveyor to do the BQ for you. Okay, all right, and then develop realistic expectation in terms of time frame. All right, that means normally the tender stage the tender process will be valid for 1 month. Okay, depending also that depends on the complexity of the repair or upgrading works. So in usual cases, the validity of tender is 1 to 2 months. And then look at the materials. What are the materials that you want? Right. So look, you have to, if you're unsure, check with the engineer. Look for MME engineer or CNS engineer. Okay, what materials do we require to do this, to do that? Okay, quality. What quality you want? You want to have top quality or you want medium quality or low quality? Right. Look at the solution and look at the realistic working budget. Right. Okay. All right. So imagine to repair the pop-up tiles at the bottom of the pool. It's not a cheap. It's not a cheap project. It can be quite involve a tidy sum. I came across one client cost them about 100,000 to just re, re, to replace the product tiles because it involves draining the swimming pool and a lot of grouting and a lot of technical work done. Right, so we must also have a realistic working budget. Okay, all right, don't be under budget or over budget. Okay, so you need to engage consultants to assist you in coming up with the proper reasonable budget. Okay, so in the meeting, and then okay, in this meeting okay, I want to look at this. Eh, eh, go back to the form, the lampiran. Come on, semua. Okay. Okay, I want you to see this. Lampiran A. Surat perakuan integriti oleh ahli jawatan kuasa berkaitan urusan perolehan. Okay. What is this integrity pledge? Alright, this one, lampiran A is in the garis panduan. In the garis panduan. Okay. In the garis panduan. Okay. Maybe let me give you a brief history of this garis panduan. Why the KPKT came out with this garis panduan and why this garis panduan, I wouldn't say must lah, but you ought to comply lah. All JMBs and MCs in West Malaysia, please comply with the garis panduan. If you don't comply with the garis panduan, committee members, all right, if anything untoward happens in the tender project, then if somebody accuses the committee members of breach of duty or maybe misappropriation of funds or corruption or bribery, and if you don't comply with this lampiran, all right, please be prepared. If an officer from the MACC or police come and visit you. Okay, this integrity pledge is by committee members. That means at the tender stage, make sure that this integrity pledge is signed by all the committee members, right? By the committee to say that what, okay, what are the things there? It says what, I, David Chan, blah, 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 merupakan AJK pada perusahaan, okay, alright, adalah dengan semua mencakap bahawa saya tidak akan melingkapkan diri saya dalam amalan rasuah. That means you are saying, I will not be involved in any bribery practices, blah blah blah. Then number two, saya tidak akan bersahabat dengan mana-mana pihak sehingga boleh menjelaskan. That means what? I will not conspire or involve with any party which will affect the integrity of the tender process, right? And then this one, sub 3, that no member of my family or relatives has any interest in this tender process, right? Then I will not disclose important details of the tender process to any person or party. And sub 5 is what? I don't have any interest with the supplier or with the contractor who will submit the tender process, the tender documents. All right. And sub 6, if I breach Romans 1 to 5 above, then I can be subject to criminal sanctions. All right, that's where the MACC lah. So MACC, so you have to sign this. All right. You have signed this integrity pledge before a commissioner or oath, and if later on in the committee something wrong with the tender process, and then people make allegations, complain to the MACC that there was a corruption or bribery or commission was received for that project. All right, and if you affirm this statutory integrity pledge and he found out to be untrue, then you can be charged in the criminal court. Okay, all right. Like that reminds me of a case. That reminds me of a case about 3-4 years ago. I mean, it was reported in the papers, right? There was a GMB in Oakland Road, Taman Desa or thereabouts, where the treasurer was charged in court for misappropriating a few $100,000 from the maintenance account. Okay, all right. So the history is this: between you see, the Strata Management Act 757 came into force on 1st June 2015. So between June 2015 and end 2018, the complaints were received by the MCCC. During that period, of all the complaints received by the MCC on allegations of fraud, misappropriation of fund, right, absconding with maintenance fund, they found out between 10 and 15% of those complaints concern GMB and MC. That between 10 and 15% of the complaints concern GMB and MC, which means that there was a high propensity of misappropriation, bribery, commission being received among the committee members, right? So these results were conveyed to the KPKT. KPKT then in 2019, they had sessions with stakeholders like Radar, like Bovia, BMAM. They had brainstorming session to come up with ideas how to overcome these problems of misappropriation of fund, commission, and those criminal activities among the management members. Right. So of course, in 2020, you have the COVID, right? So there was not much work. Then in 2020, they had the KPKT, after stakeholder session with the stakeholders, they came out with these guidelines, right? They came out with these guidelines. So these guidelines were published in 2020, and it's applicable to all GMB and MCs in West Malaysia. So please, GMB, MC, when you're free, please go and download those guidelines and go through them. All right. If you're not sure, you can always call me or email me. Okay. So this lampian at the meeting, when you discuss about tender process, give every Give a copy each to all the committee members. Make sure they sign before commissioner of oath. All right. Okay. All right. So that will be your go back to the tender stage. Okay. Further. Further. So now let's go to the contents of tender. Okay. All right. So at this pre-tender stage, all right, the meeting, make sure all committee members sign the lampiran A. Okay. Then contents of tender. Purpose of tender. What is the purpose of tender? It can be to repair or upgrade the community property. Okay. All right. Upgrade will be like let's say for someone the lift car, the internal condition, you go and refurbish, you put in carpeting or whatever, so that's upgrading. Then say repainting of the facade, that will also be upgrading. To buy new assets, maybe your new assets, your lights, your fluorescent lights you want to replace with LED lights, that is buying new assets. Or to replace defective parts, that means say for example the lift button, because due to wear and tear, the buttons become defective and they drop out, they drop off, so you have to replace them. Then look at the scope of work. What type of work are you going to ask them to do? Or if the tender involves a purchase of material, so you must purchase of material. Then you must quote what are the materials you want, in what quantity, what specification, 1 mm, 10 am. Okay, all these things must be specified in the tender documents. Look at the price. Then look at the mode of payment. Is the payment COD, cash on delivery, or delivery is okay? Say for example, repair work, upgrading work. Maybe you pay upfront 30% initial advance. Why you pay upfront 30%? Because they use your initial advance to buy the material. And then the balance 60%, maybe we can pay in stages, pay installments. Maybe upon completion of 50%, the next 50%. Upon completion, the balance 15%, and you keep the last 5%, because in any tender, GMBMC must always ask for warranty period. Warranty period depends on the scope of work, on the scale of work. It can be 1 month, it can be 3 months, it can be 1 year. All right, probably for like say if you repaint the facade, probably you ask for warranty of 1 year. All right, so in the event, so that means the final 5% you hold it for 1 year. All right, so at the end of 1 year, if the paint is still there, there's no there's the paint has not worn off, right? So you release the final 5%. And then look at the date and time of close of tender, right? Okay. Then duration of work. Where's the commencement date? Where's the completion date? Okay. Like for example, upgrading, repainting of a facade. How long will that take? 1 month? Impossible. From 6 months, I think reasonable. Right? Because repainting doesn't mean one layer of paint involves. Repainting means what you have. First thing you have used to jet water to clean the grease, the grime, wash everything. Then let it dry. Then after that you have to put one undercoat. After that you have another 1 or 2 layer of coat. So probably you need 3 layers of 3 coats of paint. All right. So 1 month to complete the facade, and the painting of facade is unreasonable. 3 to 6 months probably reasonable. All right. So look into this matter. Then types of documents. What documents do you need them to submit? Of course, you're registered with SSM. Give me all your SSM forms. Sindian Bahag, Form 24, Form 49, Form 44, MMA. Okay. All right. Then if it's a sole proprietor or partnership, look for their business license. Look for their certificate sijil pendaftaran. All right. Certificate of registration. Also look for their license. Please, GMB and MC for sole proprietorship and PLT. Always ask for their annual license. All right. That license must be renewed yearly. Right, they may be registered by SSM, but if they don't have the license expired, you better give them the contract unless they have renewed it. Okay. Right. Then the next point, preparation of the tender documents. So of course you have to prepare preparation of tender documents. After taking into account the contents, you do the tender documents. Of course, one of tender document. All right. Okay. At the same time, remember, tender documents includes the lampiran A, the integrity pledge by the committee members. Okay. Then you look at the publication of tender. All right, publication of tender, of course, according to the guidelines, right, you must advertise your tender in one newspaper national language. That means either Utusan Malaysia or Utusan Malaysia or Berita Harian. Okay, and another advertisement in English. So English probably will be the Star or Amnesty lah. All right. Then you want to advertise in the Tamil or Chinese newspaper, that is optional. Okay, but in BM and English is a must. Okay, and then at the same time you can post it on notice board. Why you want to post it on notice board? Right? Nothing to do. So much free time. The JMB or MC, they post the tender notice board documents because they also want to invite tender quotations, proposals from the owners and residents. Right? Owners and some owners or residents, they also have experience in that particular line of work. All right, so you give them opportunity to also submit their tender. All right, okay, all right. That's why you post on notice boards. But of course, now with modern technology, you can also go send through the WhatsApp. All right, okay. That's modern technology. Okay, now this is pre-tender. Now let's go to the go back to the after the pre-tender interview. Okay, now let's go to the tender stage. All right. Tender stage, opening of tender documents at specific date and time. Right, check the documents received in good order. Look at the scope, example, the scope of work, letter of statement, registration documents with the SSM, with the JKPP, KDN, qualified experience, financial position, see out the qualified candidates from the documents. That means filtering process. Then you have, so in this case, when you open the documents, make sure also, make sure when you submit the tenders, when you advertise, make sure in the tender documents you also enclose the surat akuan integrity pembekal, right? So when you receive the tender, when the contractor submits the tender, make sure you also submit together the surat akuan integrity pembekal. That means the contractor, the service provider also has to affirm this integrity pledge, right? They must also affirm this integrity pledge, and this lampiran B must be submitted with all the other documents, for you to go through and during the interview process. Go back. Okay. All right. So we have gone through now. Then interview. During the interview process, okay, interview say maybe there are 5 quotations submitted, 3 qualify because they have complied with all your terms and conditions. So you interview the 3. All right. Of course, during the 3, when you interview them, also apply the precautionary measures above, test their knowledge and experience by posing scenarios. Then after that, you evaluate. After you have interviewed all 3, all right, maybe you have a meeting the next few days. After, select the candidate that fulfills the terms and conditions in the tender documents. Because you have interviewed them 3, you have gone through all the documents. So the candidate that has passed the interview, right, admirably, the candidate that has complied with all the terms, then you select that candidate for the next stage. The next stage will be the post-tender or award stage. That stage, then you call the successful candidate, call for a meeting. Normally, what's the purpose of the meeting? To negotiate the price lah. If Jeraman, you quoted 100,000 lah, but the other competitor, the second candidate, second most candidate, he proposed 90,000 lah. So boleh turun harga lah, Encik Rahman, 90,000 lah. Of course, Encik Rahman said, tak boleh lah, tak ada untung. Never mind, we come to the mid stage, 95,000. Win-win situation, compromise. Then Encik Rahman says 95,000 from the original 100,000. If a committee agrees, all right, then issue the LA, issue the letter of award. Of course, the letter of award must contain the salient terms. Make sure basically what is in the tender documents, terms and conditions, the tender documents, the terms and conditions must be reproduced in your LA. The scope of work, cost price, period of completion, LED. In LED, make sure there's a LED, liquidated ascertained damages. Let's say, for example, LED, if the security company, the guard does not come out late, $50 per incident. If the guard talking on the phone while on duty, laughing on the phone, that means it's not an official call, it's a personal call. 50 ringgit. If the guard did not do the clocking, 50 ringgit. All right. So all this must be itemized in the LA. All right. If the contractor failed to do the job after 1 month, then they delay 15 days. Every day delay 500 ringgit. So 15 days delay pay 7,005. Okay. Non-assignability. That means why Mr. Chiraman, I give you the warn. You don't go and sub to other people. You don't go and assign. You yourself must do it personally. Arbitration. Arbitration means what? In the event there's a conflict dispute, then the party say, don't need to go to court. We only make the lawyers rich. Mr. David Chan rich, he goes to court, he charge fees. Right? So arbitration, both parties agree. We go to the KL Center for Arbitration in Jalan Sultan Sulaiman there, the old heritage building. Then we ask them to propose an arbitrator acceptable for parties. Then the arbitrator will be the Imantara arbitration. Then legal fees, stamp duty, and disbursement to be borne by the service provider. Okay, all right. So all the say for example the agreement, stamp duty. You talk to the service provider, you pay the legal fees, all right, stamp duty, right? But if the service provider does not agree, then GMB MC has to tanggung lah. All right, somebody has to pay. All right. Make sure all agreements are stamped. All right. If your agreement is not stamped, you go to court. The court will not admit the evidence, the document as evidence. Then after the LA is accepted, sign a formal agreement within 1 to 2 weeks of acceptance of LA. Right, service agreement with the property management agreement with the property management company or with the security company. Prudent and cautious to be prepared by strata lawyer because the agreement may be one-sided against the GMB-MC. So get it vetted or prepared by your lawyer. Integrity reg by the members of the GMB-MC, the Lampiran A, make sure it's all there. Integrity by service provider, affirmed by the CEO, MD, or GM, Lampiran B. All right, and then at the same time, your GMB-MC must prepare the Daftar Senarai Pembekal, all right, or Lampiran C. This Lampiran C, you must go to Lampiran C. Lampiran C. So after you have awarded, they accepted the service agreement signed, you must also note that record the particulars of the successful candidate in this Daftar Senarai. So this Daftar Senarai is for all your service provider. It must be listed, and preferably please post this Daftar Senarai on the notice board in the management office in the MO so that you can see when's the expiry date. When's the expiry date? Is the expiry date is end of December. So probably 1 month before, they say mid-November, give them notice. Either you want to terminate or you want to renew. Okay? All right. That's why you must put it in the MO so they can see every day before fail. Okay? So basically this, go back to the poster. Okay. So as I say, all these three lampiran can be found in the garis panduan. Please, so when you're free, go and Google this garis panduan. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have to speak on this topic. If you have any questions in future, if you have any questions or queries, you can always email me champartners2011@yahoo.com or 3_6@yahoo.com, or you can call my handphone number. So,
all right. Thank you, Mr. David, for that talk. We have now reached the Q&A segment where Mr. David will hopefully clarify any questions you have on today's topic. For the first question, we have a question from Yao Pek Gan. How about tenancy agreement can exceed 12 months?
Okay, tenancy agreement. Okay, if the JMB or MC enters in the tenancy agreement, okay, so the JMB or MC is a landlord, okay, and the tenant is a tenant. Is the tenant a service provider? Ask yourself, is the tenant a service provider? Tenant is not a service provider. So the tenancy agreement can be more than 12 months. The tenancy agreement is not subject to the Act 757. Say, for example, right, in the, say, for example, you have a condo, all right, so on the ground floor, maybe you have a retail unit, right, you retail unit. So, for example, let's say for my client, Chalam, all right, they have a retail unit, all right, they they want to rent out to the to a to a to a to a a business firm that operates a Tadika or Tasca, because this is India DO, right? That unit must be used as a Tadika premises to operate a Tadika or Tasca. And then you've entered the contract, it can be 12 months, it can be 24 months, can be 36 months, because the tenant is not a service provider as defined in the general sense of the word. Okay, right? Any question?
All right, moving on to the next question. We have a question from William Leo Tek Foong. If already signed 3 years, can we terminate without being sued for breach of contract?
Oh, this one is say let's assume this 3 year contract, Mr. William, this 3 year contract. Are you talking about tenancy or the normal contract with the service provider? If the agreement is with a normal service provider, of course, 3 years is already breached the Act 757, which says that any agreement with service provider cannot exceed 12 months. All right. So if you want to terminate, you want to be sued for breach of contract, that one you look at the termination clause in the service agreement. There's a termination clause. What does it provide, right? Whether can sue or cannot be sued. That I can't give you a definite answer because I do not see the termination clause in the agreement, right? But based on my experience in Strata Management since 2007, in most cases there will be a termination clause, and if you terminate, if the agreement is broken, which for any reason whatsoever, there will always be a penalty clause. Thank you.
Next, we have a question from Miss Miza D. Does the maintenance company need any permits or licenses in order to operate?
This maintenance company, are you referring to a property management company or any contractor company that does maintenance work? Because the question is very too general. But of course, if it's a lift maintenance company, it must have the license from KDN, from the DOSH, right? That is a registered operator of lift, right? So if it's a lift contractor, please make sure that they have this registered with DOSH as a approved service operator. Okay, thank you. Next.
Next, we have a question from Hock Hua Law. Hi David, have you acted for any client to apply to the court to change the share units of parcels which did not comply with the first schedule of SMA 2013?
Mr. Law, this is like a breach of confidentiality clause. Yes, we are being engaged by a client to look into this matter, right? And from the looks of it, we believe that the developers' computation of share units is inappropriate, not in compliance with the X757, and we have advised the GMP client to consider either judicial review or filing a writ summons. All right, so we are discussing this matter at length with the client. Thank you.
All right, next we have a question from Godwin Bong. Can we engage with non-CIDB general contractor? Because normally we don't check whether the contractor is CIDB certified in practice.
Mr. Godwin, all right, if you are, I would say, if you are a prudent property manager, I would advise you make sure all the contractors are registered with CIDB, right? Registered CIDB, because in case you engage a non-CIDB contractor and you want to submit a claim against the contractor with your insurance, and the insurance find out, hey, this contractor is not registered with CIDB, sorry, your claim is dismissed. Right? So be prudent. Please engage CIDB registered contractors. Right?
Next up, we have a question from Simon Ho. Self-managed by GMB MC, employed building manager must be a PM registered with BOVIA.
As what I just now told you, right, under the Act, all right, the GMBMC can employ a person to be a building manager, and that building manager must be registered. That building manager is employed as an employee of the GMBMC, so you have an employment contract. The Employment Act will apply to this engagement. All right, for this property manager, for this candidate, All right. But if you look at the Act 242, it says that person must be registered BOVIA. All right. But then in contrast, the regulations, strata management regulation says otherwise, if he or she is not registered BOVIA, you can still engage him, provided he gives you a bond. All right. That means the employee must give you a bond now. So the question is, you ask him about, he will say sorry lah, bye bye. I don't want to work for you, because you don't expect him to come out with a bond equivalent to 12 months his wages. Okay, so it's a very how would I say, neither here nor there kind of situation. So if you are in doubt, please ask the CV. Go to the COB or go to the KPKT, go to the Jabatan Kemurahan Negara and ask them, Tuan, which one do I apply? Do I follow the Act 242 or do I follow the strata management regulation? See what they respond, how they respond, right? But as I said just now, when you talk about statutory interpretation or construction of the laws, the primary legislation, that is the Act, is always supreme, overrides the subsidiary legislation, which is the 2015 strata management regulation. Thank you.
Our last question for today is in three parts by Kumaran Palasani. Is it compulsory, for the first question, sorry, is it compulsory for the MC or GMB to propose the change of the contracts in the AGM or EGM?
This, you see, under the Act gives power. The Act gives power to the JMB-MC, all right, to run the place, to run and manage the building and common property in the strata development. So impliedly, the JMB or the GMC or the MC has the power to engage service providers whom they think have satisfied with have complied with the terms and conditions of the tender process, and they have fulfilled the precautionary measures, all right, and then they have fulfilled, complied with the garis panduan perolehan issued by the KPKT. So this is implied power given to the GMB or MC. You don't have to bring these contracts for engagement to the AGM or EGM for approval. You don't. Otherwise, like that, everything like that. You want to buy a tender. The GMB wants to buy say 100 units of LED tube at say 1,000. Are you going to the AGM for approval? Right? You logistically it's impossible. But the only thing maybe you want to go for AGM or EGM approval is when you want to do capex project that involves a substantial outlay of funds. And if that outlay of funds, you are going to use a sinking fund, right? Say for example, upgrading means what? You want to repaint the whole building facade and will cost you 200,000, and that 200,000 will be financed by the sinking fund. That in that case, for capex involving substantial outlay, I would advise bringing it to the AGM or EGM for approval, right? AGM or EGM for approval. But for the normal maintenance, for the ordinary maintenance service contract, it is not practical to go to AGM for approval. That one, I think the JMB MC, they have the implied power to do such, to give that contract to the successful tender. Thank you.
All right. For the second part of the question, if the MC or GMB decided to change the PMC, are they still do they still need to discuss the transition with the existing PMC and minute by the meeting, or the MC or GMB can decide by themselves and issue the notice without discussing with the existing PMC?
Okay, this one, JMBMC, I always, in my experience, advising JMBMC since 2007, it is a common habit among JMBMC. When they terminate the PMC, they don't give notice. All right. For example, they tell the TMC, hey, tomorrow you leave my premises, we have appointed a service provider. So if I'm that PMC, you know what I do? I'll sue you until kingdom come. All right. I'm not going to give you face. Right, because in any any service agreement with a PMC, you have a clause called the mutual termination, not the unilateral termination. If an agreement has a unilateral termination, please don't sign the agreement. All right, you are going to suffer later on, right? Okay, so if there's a mutual termination clause in the agreement, what it means is mutual means what? Both side lah, sama-sama lah, not freedom lah, sama-sama, sama-sama, service provider, you can give 1 month notice to terminate without giving reasons. JNBIC, you can also give 1 month notice to terminate without giving reason. That is mutual termination clause. So if there's a mutual termination clause, JNBMC, please comply with that termination clause. Because if you give a 24-hour notice, and if the agreement has a mutual termination clause, the service provider can sue you for damages or compensation. And then normally that will be 1 month because you didn't give me 1 month notice, then you have to compensate me 1 month notice for short notice, including that month's salary and including that month's wages. Okay, so and then when you give notice, right, to the existing PMC, then you tell the new PMC, Mr. Mutu, can you please ask your team, say coming 1 week before, say for example, if the termination notice 1 month and then the final day is 30th November, final day 30th November, right? All right, so that means on the 1st December, the new team will come in. So Mr. Mutu, you tell your team, you don't come in on the 1st December, no, because the 1st December, the property manager, they're all gone, they have left already. So what you do is, normally you tell the new property management company, you tell your staff to come in 1 week before, 30th November. So maybe Mr. Mutu will send his building manager, will send his accountant, and then they will come in, say, on the 23rd of November. That 1 week is a learning process, a transition stage, where the new team members can ask the existing property manager PMC what's the problem, what's the issue, what are the common issues affecting the development. For example, there's one development, high-end condo, they always have interflow leak, right? Interflow leak. So that means if the new MC they send their team 1 week earlier, then they will understand. Oh, there's one always common issue is leaking between the interflow leakage. The interflow leakage is not the interflow leakage between upstairs unit. It's interflow leakage in the common areas. All right. So at least the new thing coming 1 week before, they are made aware of the true situation, the true issues affecting the development. Then at least they can start doing all the preparations. All right. So on the first day, on the 1st December, they can hit it off running straight away. All right. So their learning curve will be reduced. It won't be so steep. They will be reduced because of that 1 week familiarization. All right. Okay. So please, JBMC, you want to terminate, please, give 1 month notice depending on the agreement. Some agreement says 2 month notice. So if the agreement says 2 month notice, and then you give 1 month notice, that means you must compensate the PMC another 1 month short notice as a compensation. Okay. Always look at your agreement. If in doubt, look at your agreement. And if you still don't understand the agreement, why is it A or B, left or right? Please ask a lawyer's special experience in strata management. Okay, thank you.
Lastly, what if the GMC or GMB itself did not follow the procurement SOP to change a major contract? Are we supposed to highlight this to COB and KPKT?
This procurement SOP is the garis panduan perolehan oleh pengurusan pembangunan persata published by KPKT. This one is only in relation to tender process. Okay, so you must follow the guidelines. Okay, if you don't follow the guidelines, right? If you let's say committee member, you affirm the lampiran A, but you lied there. If later on something happens and the COP or MEC find out that you were lying when you affirm, right? Then criminal prosecution can be taken against you in the criminal court, right? If you are a service provider, the lampiran B, and you lied there in the surat akuan, right? MACC or police can take action against you in the event somebody complains about misappropriation of fund, bribery, commission in the future. Same thing, JMC when you have awarded the project to successful candidate, make sure you complete Lampiran C. All this is a must, right? Guidelines, by definition, they are guidelines. They don't have force of law, but in practice, people comply. Out of fear, they don't want to get prosecution. So please comply. Right? Not sure of the garis panduan, go to KPKT. Ask the bahagian pembangunan. I think it's the unit pembangunan in the KPKT. They came out with the garis panduan. Go and see the unit head. Ask him, hey, can you advise us or whatever? Okay, maybe the Moviap or BMEM or radar can write to the KPKT. Hey, you all come up with guidelines. This kind of pandu until now, the public doesn't know. Can you organize a seminar, 1 day seminar, get your people to invite all the GMBMC to attend the seminar, explain how to implement the Garis Panduan. As far as I know, this Garis Panduan has been around since 2020, and I haven't come across any public seminar by the KPKT or any authority or COB for that matter, explaining to the public how to comply with those guidelines. So please write into the COB, write into KPKT. Bila nak adakan seminar untuk menerangkan garis panduan ini? Kami ini semua jahil, tak tahu, tak faham. Understand? Thank you.
All right, so we have now reached the end of this talk show.
Encik Nafal, it's okay. Let me give them another 10 minutes. I don't mind. Give them another 10 minutes. More question?
No, that was actually the last question, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving you 10 minutes extension. If you have any other queries, please quickly send in your queries, write in. This seminar is free, all right? So please make full use of this opportunity. If you attend a public seminar, you have to pay $100 for this kind of seminar. All right, so this webinar is free. Please make use of this opportunity to ask more queries. Any questions?
Right. I believe there are no more questions. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you to the Strata Conference 2022, Strata Management Trends that will shape 2023, happening on the 29th of November at Armada Hotel Petaling Jaya. For more information, you may scan the QR code displayed on the screen, as well as visit our Excel Academy of Real Estate page, Facebook page for the latest updates on the courses that we offer. Once again, I would like to thank Mr. David for his sharing of insights today, and also the participants for tuning in. We hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Excel Academy, for the invite, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your participation. Hope to see you at the next webinar in due course. Thank you. Have a pleasant day.